he's in an almost impossible position. He knows, he sought to articulate this, that for 101 reasons, commercial principally, but also defense and intelligence, Britain is so intertwined with America, and our interests depend so much on decisions taken by the American administration that we can't afford to go studs up against the US. But at the same time, he will feel that both our European allies and also in his soul, what Trump has been saying is deeply offensive. So there'll be an emotional impetus to get out there, to have the Love Actually moment, to do as Mark Carney has done, and to give a voice. He's not particularly passionate, but, to muster his full barristerial eloquence against Trump. But he also knows that when you are faced with someone who's acting as impetuously as Trump, there is a premium on a greater degree of respectability.
We're talking on a remarkable day in Trump studies. We've had that extraordinary letter he wrote to the Norwegian Prime Minister, basically saying, you didn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize, so I'm no longer interested in peace. We've had him auctioning places on the Gaza Peace Board for $1 billion a time and asking Vladimir Putin whether he would sit on that board as well. I don't quite know how to put this, but is there a case for saying that Donald Trump has lost it?
Well, it certainly seems to be the case that he's in full Lex Luthor mode. He is. It almost seems as though he is determined to portray himself as a Marvel villain. And the Board of Peace proposition, when it was first put forward, did seem, even for those of us who might have some sympathy with Trump's ability in the past to get things done in the Middle East, the Board of Peace plan did seem as though it were, the archetypal villain drawing together his hench people to carve up the Levant. And then the letter that he sent to the Norwegians, if it had been sent to me by my son when he was 8, I would have regarded it as juvenile even then. Yet, there has been, and this will be in the mind of some, there has been method in past Trump madness. Now, it may be that the lunacy and the ego have now got to a level where they are unchecked, but I think it's probably wise for all of us just to wait to see. That doesn't mean one approves, it just means one doesn't know exactly what his final game plan might be.
Caution is always a good thing, but does there come a moment when Trump becomes an enemy?
Well, I think there's certainly a point where he becomes such a renegade, because I don't think one should regard America as an enemy, that one has to recalibrate things more radically. At the moment, I think Starmer is right to exercise that degree of caution, to carcanny still, but the provocation is moving dangerously close to the point where a more fundamental reassessment might be required, yes.
And there are rumours again today of American special forces training to go into Greenland. There are European NATO troops in Greenland. The worst could happen and we could lose NATO, couldn't we?
Well, that would be the very worst. I still can't quite believe, but maybe I'm too much a prisoner of the past, that such a thing would happen. I'm more inclined to believe, with Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, that all of these are manoeuvres and part of Trump's art of the deal, whereby he makes an approach with menaces, then with blandishments, and then eventually settles for something short of the initial imperious demand. But I think that while one can admire brinksmanship from time to time, there is a point where the patience of your partners is so tested that actually whatever the prize you get, the price is too high.
Let's turn to, I devoutly hope you're right about that. Let's turn to domestic politics, if you don't mind. Robert Jenrick has gone over to Reform famously, and Mr. Rossendale as well. The interesting argument going on the right here, really about tone. In other words, Reform are saying Britain is broken, we're in a terrible state, and it's going to need a revolution to turn us around. Kemi Badenoch is saying, no, Britain is not broken. All it needs is conservative reforms and changes. Which do you think is the shrewder strategy in terms of all those voters up and down the country who can't stand Labour and are trying to work out where to go next?
I think it's undoubtedly better, even when times are grim, for a leader to be optimistic. That doesn't mean that they should be in denial about some of the problems that we face, but the most successful conservatives are those who are optimistic. So Ronald Reagan, quintessentially, and Margaret Thatcher, I think one wouldn't say that she was sunny, but she certainly had a belief in Britain's greatness and its capacity to recover. So I think you can argue, if you're on the right, that Labour are broken. I think you can argue that some of the institutions of Britain are broken. But once you start to argue that the country fundamentally is broken, then I think that you're in a pessimistic and, more than that, perhaps that potentially apocalyptic frame of mind.
Yes, it does sound very dark, doesn't it? And
exactly.
It seems to me that sort of dark analysis leads to cruel policies in the end. Do you think that
Potentially, yes.
Do you think that Robert Jenrick's a loss to the Conservative Party?
Yes, I think he is net. So I think that obviously the manner in which he left and the broadside that he launched against his former colleagues would mean that most of them would think that they're well shot of him at the moment. But he does have ability. He is he's an effective speaker in the House. He's a super effective presence on social media. And as we both know, in personal terms, he's personable and thoughtful. The challenge that he and Reform face is that the public persona that he has, partly as a result of this defection and partly as a result of, as you've described, his stated reason, the failure of the Tories to state defiantly that Britain is broken, all of that risks making him more of a sort of renegade, Enoch Powell 2.0 or 3.0. And the thing about Powell is that everyone knew that he was a man of great intelligence and foresight, but it was also the case that there was as you say, there was a slightly unnerving, uncanny element to the way in which he put his message across, to which the British public never truly warmed.
That is really, really interesting. Finally, Michael, I have to ask you, you'll have seen Robert Jenrick's interesting and amusing war with Liz Truss, and Liz Truss responding by suggesting that somebody, and I think she was thinking of you, is pulling Rob Jenrick's strings and is a kind of Dr. Evil, if I can put it that way, sitting in the background, manipulating defections between the two parties. Are you Dr. Evil?
Many people might think so. The truth is that while I may disagree with Rob on some things, I did think that in his article in the Times today, his analysis of Liz's premiership was correct. So to take nothing away from how good she was as a junior education minister, I don't think Liz was a very good prime minister. And Rob Jenrick is, whatever else, on the button in that respect.
And you're pulling nobody's strings.
Absolutely not. I am no Jerry Anderson.
It's always very pleasurable to talk to you, Lord Gove, Michael Gove. Thank you very much indeed for talking to LBC tonight.